Hi, right, we're going to do a little video here on engine maintenance. So really important to be maintaining the engine with some after-run oil after we've used it. There's an engine here that's been run. It's actually been used a couple of times by my son Jake. And obviously during this lockdown period, a lot of engines aren't going to be used for a while, so we need to make sure that they don't go rusty at all. And the best way to do that is by putting some after-run down there. There's two real ways of doing that. One is by putting some oil down the plug, and the other way is the back plate. So with the plug, what we want to do is, if the engine's in the car, hold the engine pointing upwards and remove the plug. That makes sure that no dirt actually drops down the plug hole. And just make sure it's all clean. Wipe the bottom of the plug, make sure, get rid of any dirt, but don't touch the actual coil. And then just put a few drops of oil down there. Now I've not done too many because this engine's already had some oil down it, but I constantly get asked how much oil to put down there. Personally, it's just fill it up, 20, 40 drops, lots of oil down there. And the problem with doing it in this way is that we're relying on the fact that the oil is going to run down into the combustion chamber, underneath the piston and onto the rear bearing. And we really don't know if that oil's got there. So the best way is to take the back plate off and oil it from that way. But if you're not confident in taking the back plate off, then at least do it this way, and then it'll be protected. And after we've done that, just slide the plug back on. So the second way is taking the back plate off. So I'm just going to take plug out, and then remove these 4 screws. Now at this point it's really important to make sure that the piston's in the up position. Hopefully you can see that through the exhaust port at the piston you can see it. If you can see the piston, that means it's in the up position. If you can't see it, it's in the down position. The other way is we can look through the plug hole, but that's not so easy. So I really want to look through the exhaust port, make sure we can see the piston. And then what we want to do is just grab the back plate, just give it a turn, and then remove it. Now if we didn't put it in the up position, piston's going to catch on that groove, and as you remove it, it will snap the bottom of the piston off, which is obviously not good. So from here we can see the conrod and the crankshaft, and just behind the crankshaft is the rear bearing. So with it like this, we can then just pour some oil onto the rear bearing, onto the conrod, on the big end bearing, onto the crankshaft, lots of oil, and just rotate that round, getting it all in there. Now the front bearing is a bit difficult to lubricate, but we're hoping by putting lots of oil in there that it's going to go through the rear bearing onto the front bearing. And then if we haven't already put some down the plug hole, we can just pop some down the exhaust, and that'll get it over the piston. So everything's really nicely lubricated and ready for storage. So literally fill it up. And then putting the back plate back on, we need to have the piston in the up position. Make sure that the groove is in the upwards position. There's a little notch on the back plate. Then we can slide that on and push it home. And then put the 4 screws back on. And whilst I'm doing this, just talk about at the end of the day, you don't necessarily have to do this at the end of the day. You can do this like during the week, because a couple of days is not a problem. But at the end of the day of racing, empty the fuel tank, and then start up the car, run out the fuel from the tank and the fuel lines. And then when the engine stops, just put the glow plug on top of the engine, start it, and that will really get rid of all the fuel that's in there. because it's the fuel that causes the rust. So with the back plate on, the next thing is how tight to do these. My recommendation is literally just take your thumb and your index finger and hold the tool and turn it. And that's about the right sort of torque. If you actually have it in your grip of your hand, you're going to put in a lot more torque. So just your thumb and your index finger turning that, and that's plenty. Just pop the plug back in. There you go. So a couple other things you can do for maintenance is to, if you've got an air filter on here, put a bag over the top, elastic band over it. That stops the air from coming in and turning into moisture. Plug the fuel line, and also if you've got an exhaust, put some tissue inside the stinger or cover it some way, just stops air getting in through the exhaust. Those sort of things help. And then also maybe once a week, 10 days, 2 weeks, just turn over the engine with the clutch, turn it over a few times, just circulates that all around. Now you'll probably find that on the front bearing you'll get a little bit of leakage, and you'll see some oil around this area, especially if the engine's been stored in this position. Nothing to worry about. It doesn't particularly mean that the front bearing's leaking or anything, but it's not 100% seal. That's true for all bearings. We've just got lots of oil in there, and it's just going to seep out a bit. So before you race, just really give that a good clean up, a bit of a wipe down. Especially in these times where we're not racing for quite often. So carry out that protection, look after the engines, and they'll look after you.